Today I'm going to show you how to work on your bass tone, how to get great bass tone with my great bass tone system, how to be in control, how to be responsible for every note that you play, how to think about it, and how to practice it, so stick around. So I'm sure that many of you have had that experience. You're all plugged in, ready to rock this stuff, and you've got a thin sound, or on the other side of the equation, you've got something that's unmanageable, right? So, you cranked up the bass, you cranked up the volume, and it's too much on either account. It's just too big. It's hard to control. So, it could be tonal, as in terms of bass frequencies. It could be dynamics, with on the amp, you can turn that down. That's a fairly easy solution. But how about when you just don't feel that the sound, that you're in control of the sound? It's a big thing, and you need to get good at doing that. You want to have a sound that's a big sound. You want to have tone that is your tone, right? And you want to have a system to get it. So I'm going to show you something that you can work on, a few things here that you can plug in just a little bit every day, just 10-15 minutes a day, and you start gaining awareness. It's a great thing. It's a great skill to have. You plug that in before you start every gig, and you're going to be in great shape. So the very first thing I want to show you, you can use like a G major or a G pentatonic scale. Get it so it slots out up and back in a couple of measures. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and boom, 2 measures, right? You could do pentatonic. I think you have to click, you have to add a couple of notes here chromatically, but that's a good thing in and of itself. So that doesn't quite slot out, but if you go like this, so a chromatic note just before you hit the top, and I was going G, A, B, D, E, G, A to B. I went chromatic that way, and then just came down pentatonic, the last one. So you can do that too. Okay, I'll just use major scale today. Now, what is the point here, right? What are we trying to do, right? I'm trying to get you to be in control of your own tone. Not any particular tone, not any tone that I'm going to demand of you, right? I'm not going to say, oh, play it this way, play it that way. Tonally, right? A lot of bass or less mids or something like that. That's not what's going on here. What we're going to do today is we're going to get you on the path to this skill set so that you can project the tone that you want. Right? It's a tone-free, a tone-free big bass tone system. Okay, so it's going to become clear very shortly. So one thing I want you to do right away is play connected notes, go up and back, right? And I'm going to plug in some demands here in just a second. So just okay, now the first thing you want to do is go up and back a few times and play it as quietly as you can, but retaining your technique. So way in the basement. See if you can get as long a note, as much note as possible, right? Now, I want you to do that once and then punch in a substantial, let's just say we're right here, a substantially different, higher actually, level of dynamics, right? Remember, we're going after tone here. Any tone that you want to project. Okay, that's where we're going with this. I'm going to show you these other demands and little things about this that are going to enable you to do that. So now up and back, and then punch the dynamics. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and right? An obvious difference. Now, you don't want to go totally caveman on it. I mean, you want to have something left on top. Now, why is that? Well, you want, in the course of playing, especially when you're setting yourself up for a gig in a room, you want to have a controlled tone. You don't want to be banging, you know. You want to have, there's two things here. There's kinetics, in other words, how hard you're hitting the instrument with your pizzicato side. And then there's the actual dynamics. So if you're hitting really hard and not getting that big of a sound, you know, dynamically, volume-wise, then you want to adjust the amp, you know, crank up the amp like 15%, you know, maybe even more. So that's one thing right there, is demonstrating for yourself a distinct level, you know, two totally distinct levels, way in the basement, and then just say, you know, beyond mezzo forte, you know, basically forte, maybe even double forte, but to be in control. Now, to get even below that, where you were when you started, you know, to get to double piano, or, you know, piano like that little script P you see on a music chart, right? To get to triple piano, I mean, you've got to be basically a near master level player to play the extremes of dynamics and to make it sound uh, uh, like you're in control. So we don't have to go there. You can get incredible effect out of this, again, on your tone. I'm going to show you that, by just having two completely distinct levels. Because what happens is later you learn to fit another one in between, and then you learn to get lower and you learn to get higher. You got, how many you got there? You got 5 levels then. So huge skill set to build up. So that's the first thing, is to, and it's not easy at all, but the great thing about these dynamics is that just in a couple of weeks, just 15 minutes a day, you work on this and see if you can take, say you start in G major, go to C major, go to F, go to B flat, E flat, right? See if you could take it through the cycle. You could do that in 15 minutes. That'd be a slam dunk. You know, take it up and back like 3, 4, 5 times, go to the next key. There's other demands that you can add to this. So up and back dynamically, right? These are just the wider world of dynamics, right? Playing this level and then playing that level, right? But now, number 2 in this equation is to learn to punch the accents, right? So not an overall level, but at any moment in any note, blam, you punch the note. So check it out. Same thing way in the basement. Now check it out. Right? So I mean, not the most interesting harmonic material, but man, when you hear that note punch like that, like, whoa, what's going on there? You know, but that is the skill that you're going to also use to communicate with your drummer rhythmically. Drummer's going to be like, whoa, what got into so-and-so? You know, I feel like there's some authority there behind those bass notes. That's exactly what happens. So a little more on that later. But so overall dynamic level, way in the basement, substantially up, number 1. Number 2, playing a similar low level of dynamics, say piano or double piano, and connecting the notes and then punching accents. So if you recall, what I did in that case was I punched the first note of every 4 eighth notes, say 1 and 2 and 3, and just like that. And then next time around, I took the second grouping and I slid it over to an upbeat, you know, so. Right? So it starts to have interesting kind of percolating feel, and that's what you want in your playing. I mean, that's, again, this is a great skill set. It has multiple benefits, though. So authority in the rhythm section and just interest in your lines, but also something else happens. And probably you've never heard anyone say this, but it gets your hands working together. They're communicating with each other. How is that? Well, you know that feeling, the one I mentioned in the beginning, where the sound is out of control. You don't feel like you're in control of the tone. It's too big, too loud, or too bassy, or too something. You just don't feel like it's right. Well, part of that deal is that uh, you're having these slight micro differences in the way you're fingering the note. You know, you're articulating note with your pizzicato, right? Your finger style, and then the way you're depressing the notes. Really, really super common. Most people never really get to, just super controlled tone. Tonal projection, I should say. Right? Tone is something that is more of an individual thing for you. I mean, we share so much of things, right? But when you're able to form the note and be totally in control, whether it's a long note or a short, funky note, or some type of staccato note, everything in between, when you're able to do that, then you're able to make that judgment about your sound and projecting a particular sound. That's your tone. That's the big bass tone system secret right there. Is that, are you able to be in control? And how can you do that? It's with your dynamics. So you just have, you can just practice. You could take any line that you have. Anything that you play, really, and to push that dynamic edge on it is what gets your hands communicating, and then you're able to have that skill set you're working on to hear and then to project the tone that you want. If you don't have that skill, if you're playing sloppy, if your hands aren't working together, right, those little kind of geeky micro connections that your hands have. If you've ever seen just some languages, maybe the best of all is Hungarian. You see those letters. Every letter has every line has a line of symbols on top of the letters. That's really how you want to play. You see that on a music sheet too. You see the caret, upside down. You've got the sideways one. You've got staccato. You've got other markings in between on the treble and bass clef. You got the overall, like, crescendo, decrescendo type of markings, right? All of those markings show you how to play the notes, right? That's the secret, is when you have that extra demand on your hands, they wake up. You wake up. Your awareness wakes up. It's how you're playing the notes. And that is the place from where the tone is issuing, right? You and your skill at hearing and playing, and then you're going to make your own decision about what tonal sound you want to project, right? I'm not here today to tell you exactly how I want to hear you sound, right? You want to develop the skill to project the tone that you want. And you might not have a really super clear idea right now, but when you get the skill set, anything that you hear, man, I want to try that. Then your hands are working together. You're able to project a solid tone, right? Something that's got like shape to it instead of some diffuse, blah, But you're able to project a solid tone, and that is that's the moment when you're going to be able to make some adjustment. You might make some adjustment, on the onboard preamp or the master tone control. You might go to the amp, notch up the bass frequencies, 10-15%. So that is a big part of this. So dynamics in the overall dynamics, but also accents. Now, another thing that you can do is where you play the notes. And you want to play, if you watch players, you watch a master grade player play, they are going from over the pickup here all the way up here. Sometimes they're stroking the note over the fingerboard. So it could be something like right, such a huge difference when you kind of just get that round, warm tone, less attack, of course. Sometimes that's what you need, you know, punching the notes out, and then on the other extreme, just really right, just different. It's maybe extremes today. Maybe I show you some of these extremes, but that is the way that you gain an awareness. Okay, in other words, open up your dynamics, benchmark. That's what I call it. I call it benchmarking your dynamics to learn to kinetically hook up the sound the dynamics that you want, right, at the particular kinetic level. Again, if they're out of sync, if you're just touching the string and the amp is about to melt, that's too much, right? And by the same token, the other side of the equation, if you're hammering like a caveman and your sound's not that loud, that's a big problem. So you've got to find that middle ground where you can project a wide variety of dynamics, right? It's never going to be as much as a tenor sax player or a piano player, right? But just having a few different levels that you can access skill, right? Have the skill to do that is going to make a huge difference. And then you're going to be able to project the tone that you want. And again, even if you don't know exactly what that is yet, you're going to gain the skill set to do that. So just 15 minutes a day working on the dynamics, the overall dynamics, right? Way in the basement. And then learning to contrast that, right? And then punching in the accents, right? You can just do one every 4/8 notes and start sliding those accents around. Great secret, though, is it also exposes inaccuracies in your picking hand, in your pizzicato. So great things, multiple benefits. Just 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, just in that amount of time, you're going to just like explode in awareness for what your hands are doing. And your hands, they're going to start communicating, absolutely guaranteed. And then just this other thing, which I think is such a beautiful thing to do, be able to stroke these long, big notes. Instead of just punching everything, kind of like that short, kind of like everything's like a funky 16th note. You want to have a wide range of natural tone coming out of your instrument, and you add this to your dynamics and you're developing awareness. It's incredible help to your playing. So I hope you can appreciate that today. My own great bass tone system. How to become a more responsible player, responsible and in control of every note that you play, using dynamics. Remember the extremes, way in the basement, way up on top, and hopefully to sneak in some other levels there as your skill increases. It is a great skill set to have. You're actually going to have a lot more fun when you play this way. You're just going to be able to create more rhythm. Your drummer's going to be just like, who's this new person, And so you're going to have more authority in the rhythm section, but you're going to be able to project that tone that you want, the tone that is your own tone. You're going to be recognized when people hear that bass playing. They're going to hear you. So it's a great help in becoming a conscious player. So I hope you appreciate that. I'll see you next time.